Howdy hoyo, it's Toxic Boyo, and in today's edition of I Get to Things Way After They're Relevant, I wanted to talk about Microsoft's purchase of Bethesda. As we all know, that's a pretty big deal, largely because of how much money they spent on acquiring ZeniMax, which owns Bethesda. Well, owned, I guess. They spent $7.5 billion. That is one of the biggest gaming industry investments I've ever seen in my life. This isn't like when they bought Bungie way back in the day, or when they bought Studio MDHR back in 2016 so that they could get Cuphead exclusivity. Um, this is a really, really huge deal, you know? Um, Bethesda, obviously, the people behind, what's it called? The Elder Scrolls and Fallout. They have studios there like Arcane, which make Prey and is making Deathloop. You have studios like id Software, Machine Games that give us Doom and Wolfenstein. It's hard to pretend like it's not a really interesting move, right? Now, we all have different opinions on whether or not Bethesda is really worth that much money. Um, Personally, I don't think so. Because the thing about Bethesda is that it's not exactly a studio that has goodwill from the industry at large. You know, Bethesda has a very rocky history, especially within the last 5 or so years. Fallout isn't what it used to be. Skyrim is kind of a joke. Elder Scrolls Online wasn't what people expected it to be. But, I mean, we've had two really solid Doom games and some Wolfenstein games come out in the last couple of years that have kind of revitalized id Software at the very least. Prey was very well received. Dishonored was amazing. Dishonored 2 and Death of the Outsider both came out. We don't have to talk about that. But what's interesting about the deal is that Bethesda is still going to honor arrangements that they've made with Sony. So Deathloop will still be playable on PlayStation 5. But what's interesting to see is, could there be exclusive DLC or add-ons to Deathloop in the future that are Xbox exclusive? Starfield, will that be Xbox exclusive? And when I say Xbox exclusive, that comes with an asterisk at the end because nothing's truly Xbox exclusive. It will probably be on the Windows Store. It definitely will be on the Windows Store as well. The only real question is, will it be on Steam? Um, another thing that's interesting is earlier in this video I did mention how Studio MDHR was acquired by Microsoft while they were producing Cuphead. Cuphead is now playable on the following platforms: Windows, Steam, Mac, Xbox, PlayStation 4, and Nintendo Switch. So there's a limit as to how important Xbox exclusivity is in this business decision. There's no real way to know for sure if Starfield will stay Xbox exclusive forever. Because, I mean, Cuphead only very recently became playable on PS4 after being on Apple and Switch and stuff for so long. The game has kind of run its popularity course. They're definitely still working on the sequel. They might still be working on the DLC that was supposed to come out a while ago. But the game isn't as popular as it was when it first came out, obviously. Could we see that same sort of thing with Starfield, Elder Scrolls 6, if that game ever, comes to existence? The next Fallout game, can we expect to see very similar things as far as those are concerned? Most likely. I really don't think that this move was about exclusivity. I think this was about getting really powerful, really popular games on their platform. Obviously you've been able to play all of their games on Xbox and on PC. But what I think is that people are going to be more inclined to buy games from the Windows Store if it's not on Steam. I think this is going to maybe push some people to get a game on Xbox if there's like exclusive stuff on Xbox. The way that Call of Duty works with PlayStation, like with Modern Warfare last year, the co-op mode I think was PlayStation exclusive or something like that. I think it was Survival, and a lot of people were very upset about that. Here we are a year later, nobody even remembers that. But there's always exclusive skins, maps, modes. or at least that there's exclusive access to it on PlayStation for a while before it goes public on PC and on Xbox. Activision is a studio that's had a very long history with PlayStation, and so of course they work very closely together. There's nothing like that for Crash Bandicoot that I'm aware of, but I mean like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, the old Spider-Man games, stuff like that. That all used to be PlayStation exclusive. So as the years have gone by, those two studios have come to work very closely together. Well, not two studios, those two companies. And what I think is that we can expect to see something very similar to that with Bethesda and Microsoft going forward. Now, obviously, the main point of this video... Shut up, Bixby. Anyway, the main point of this video is to say what Sony should do as a countermeasure, if anything. A lot of people think that since this was such a huge power play by Xbox, that Sony should respond in kind and acquire another studio. I kind of agree with that, but I don't think it should be motivated exclusively by this urge to beat Microsoft at something, because they have gotten most of their success by not caring what Microsoft is doing. People are really upset that that the PS5 isn't going to be backwards compatible to the 3, 2, and 1. But it doesn't matter, because the PS5 is still leading next-gen pre-orders. And if you look at what people are doing on the Xbox One, which is backwards compatible to the 360 and the original Xbox, they're not really using backwards compatibility that much. Like, they barely even play Xbox One games. Like, you can look up what Xbox users do on the Xbox One. It's not backwards compatible games, that's for sure. So, like, Xbox will be like, oh, we have this feature. PlayStation is like, cool, we're not going in that direction at all. And people will still just buy the PlayStation because of what it can do or what it has to offer. Or for a lot of people, myself included, they just have PlayStation brand loyalty because when I was born, I had a PS1. You know what I mean? I've been a PlayStation kid all my life. I didn't get my first Xbox until I was like 8. You know what I mean? I didn't get a 360 until I was like 11. And the Xbox One came out when I was 13. No, I was 14. So it's like... And you could say, oh, I'm brainwashed to be loyal to Sony. I don't really care. I've done plenty of research. I've compared the consoles exhaustively. At this point, I don't see a reason to buy an Xbox One or a Series X because I have a PC that can run every Xbox game that's going to come out. Fable, PC. Halo Infinite, PC. I really don't care. I really don't care. Now, PlayStation, well, Sony has a couple of options if they want to acquire somebody. A lot of people think that the obvious answer is Take-Two Interactive. I understand. And if you don't know who Take-Two Interactive are, they are to 2K and Rockstar what ZeniMax is to Bethesda. They're the parent company. So, immediately, GTA 6, whenever that game comes out, could be PlayStation exclusive, like San Andreas was, or Vice City. Immediately, Red Dead 3, if that game ever comes out, PlayStation exclusive. Now, for Red Dead 2 and GTA 5, which still get incredible online support, PlayStation exclusive updates, which, if you're looking at it, GTA 5 already gets a lot of PlayStation exclusive stuff. I mean, between, July? No, June. And whenever it comes out next year on PS5, GTA 5 players that are playing it on PlayStation get $1 million every single month. Like, are you kidding me? And then if you have Twitch Prime, you get even more money. So that's kind of cool. But, and then the 2K games become PlayStation exclusive, which doesn't really change a whole lot because, I mean, PlayStation was so confident in 2K performing well on the PS5 that they included it in the PS5 showcase back in June. Now, all of that being said, Take-Two Interactive would be a good idea. But I think it would cost a lot of money, and I don't know if they're willing to make an investment like that, mostly to be carried by two franchises that release so infrequently that they wouldn't really get a return on investment, sorry, for a long time. Microsoft is already going to take a while to get that $7.5 billion back. PlayStation isn't going to want to sink billions of dollars into a purchase and not make that money back, at least quickly, somewhat quickly. You know what I mean? Now, that being considered, a lot of people have been saying that they should acquire Warner, well, not Warner Media. Obviously, they can't acquire Warner Media, but WB Games. That would also be an interesting move because if you're not aware, WB Games distributes CDPR. So for as much as much attention as Cyberpunk 2077 has been getting for Xbox, it would be funny if just out of nowhere it became a PlayStation exclusive. Obviously, there isn't time for that. If they were to buy Warner Media right now, it would still be. That's it, Warner Media. If they were to buy WB Games right now, Cyberpunk would still come out on Xbox. However, there could be, like I said earlier, with what's happened to my brain? Like I said earlier, with like Deathloop, there could be PlayStation exclusive updates and stuff like that to come out later on in the game's lifespan, because I'm sure they're going to be supporting Cyberpunk for quite a long time, considering how much time and development they've put into it. There's also Hitman. There is the Batman franchise, which Gotham Knights doesn't look like it's going to do Arkham Knight type numbers, but I mean, DC games becoming PlayStation exclusive would be a pretty big deal. You do have the Suicide Squad game coming out. That being PlayStation exclusive would kind of rock the boat pretty hard. Lego games, but if there's another Shadow of Mordor game coming out, being PlayStation exclusive would be pretty crazy. Same thing goes for Hogwarts Legacy. That would be nutty if it was PlayStation exclusive. And obviously, anything coming out in the future that's going to be PlayStation exclusive will probably, there is a decent slim chance that it will end up on PC eventually, but it's not going to launch on both PlayStation and PC at the same time like Xbox exclusives are. So that's something to be considered as well. Warner Media would be a good idea. It's within the realm of possibility, and it would be a pretty huge deal. It would not be as big as what happened here, because I don't see them spending $7.5 billion on it, but it would be pretty crazy. Now, I think they should point their attention inward, because Sony is a Japanese company. They should probably acquire some Japanese studios. Could be a good idea. Nintendo picked up Sega. I mean, Sega doesn't just exclusively develop for Nintendo, but I mean, Sonic is a Nintendo property now. So, well, I guess not really. It's a complicated situation, obviously. Obviously, Sega and PlayStation worked together pretty well. But I think that there are two studios in Japan that would be a really big deal. Because I honestly think that Sony needs to focus more on the East. Because obviously, they do extremely well here in the West. But Microsoft is kind of trying to, corner the market on Western appeal. Sony should double down on the Japanese game culture, because it does extremely well here in the US. People love Persona, people love Devil May Cry, they love Final Fantasy. Just do something in that dimension. And to that end, I say Capcom and Square Enix. Imagine how crazy it would be if the next mainline Kingdom Hearts game was PlayStation exclusive. Same thing with Final Fantasy. I'm pretty sure 16 is going to be PlayStation and PC exclusive, but if 17 was strictly PlayStation exclusive in the year 2026 or something like that, that would be pretty crazy. The next Avengers or Marvel game that Square Enix makes, PlayStation exclusive. The next Tomb Raider game, PlayStation exclusive. I mean, because Square Enix has studios therein, like Crystal Dynamics, which make the Avengers game, and Tomb Raider, boom, PlayStation. Capcom, Resident Evil, Devil May Cry, Street Fighter, Marvel vs. Capcom. Imagine a PlayStation-controlled Marvel vs. Capcom 4. Because PlayStation, because I don't know, you know, obviously PlayStation is trusted with Marvel properties. Stop, Bixby. PlayStation is trusted with Marvel properties. 2 Spider-Man games should tell you that. So, I think that if they were to acquire Capcom, obviously they would get the Capcom side of the rights to Marvel vs. Capcom, but I don't think Marvel would be too shy to cooperate with Sony in developing a new Marvel vs. Capcom. Street Fighter 6 or Street Fighter 5 Super Alpha Turbo Mega Prime. I think it would be a really big play, because Capcom is on the up and up now. You know, that's the thing. Bethesda is kind of not in a great spot. Capcom has been on a freaking tear, becoming increasingly more successful since 2017. MVCI was a misstep. It really was. But take that out of the equation, everything that they have done since Resident Evil 7 has been hugely successful, and Capcom is in the fans' good graces again. You know, Capcom 2020 and Capcom 2008, very different beasts. Now, Bethesda 2008 and Bethesda 2020, and Bethesda 2020, also different beasts, but not in a good way. So I think that it would be a very smart idea to get Capcom right now. They could probably get Capcom for like maybe $3 or $4 billion. Square Enix would probably be the same amount of money. But scooping both of them up obviously would be more of an investment than Microsoft just made here. But they're more guaranteed to get that money back. Sure, Avengers was a misstep for Square Enix, but Final Fantasy VII Remake sold a lot of copies, and the next 2 chapters of it will sell a lot of copies. FF16 is going to sell a lot of copies. The next Kingdom Hearts is going to sell a lot of copies. Combine all of that with the runaway success that Devil May Cry 6 would be if that ever comes out. Resident Evil 8 is going to be wildly successful. Already has a lot of coverage and attention on PlayStation. Make it an exclusive, you know? I legitimately think that focusing on the Eastern games would be the best counterplay for Sony in this situation. However, that's just what I think. I'm not necessarily right. I don't think I'm wrong. But whatever you guys think, let me know in the comments. Who do you think Sony should acquire next? I'm actually very interested to know what you guys think on that, because it is a very interesting question. I mean, sure, there's companies out there, they could try to get Activision, but I think that would literally be too much money. Same with Ubisoft. I don't think it's realistic. But there are plenty of things they could try to do. EA, not even worth discussing. But yeah, I'm passing the question off to you. Who do you think Sony should acquire? And honestly, do you think Sony should acquire anybody? Do you think they need to try to counter what Xbox did? Whatever you think, comment below and educate me. And I'll see you next time.